Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our first Coffee with the Community for the 2025-2026 school year. Thanks for joining us to learn a little bit more about Liberty Public Schools and the start to this school year. We are so appreciative to our students, our families, and staff for what we feel has been one of the greatest starts to a school year that we've had in recent years. I would be remiss if I didn't pause on today, September 11th, to take a little bit of a look back nearly 24 years ago in what transpired across our country, not just in New York City, but really impacting every corner of our state, as well as the global events that happened in New York City. We pause to remember, to reflect, to think about those that lost their lives, those families that were impacted, but certainly all of the first responders that took time to interject, to intervene, and to make a difference on that tragic day in our history. We were talking a little bit earlier about where we were, and I remember vividly being in a classroom with students, watching those events of that morning unfold. And there's probably no other event in my time as a teacher, as an individual, in which I remember vividly where I was on September 11th. So again, a day of remembrance and appreciation for all who have served over the course of these many years in bringing us back together as a country. What a great opportunity this morning to share a little bit about Liberty Public Schools and the work that's gone on over the last several days as we've embarked on this new school year. I love the imagery that is reflected on this slide, and that it shows who we are as a community, from that small town feel represented in our local City of Liberty Public Square and the rich history that that has, to the lessons learned in the classroom from our youngest to our oldest students, industry in our backyard that provides a tremendous amount of opportunities for students to engage in real-world learning experiences, along with the variety of activities, whether it's on the stage or whether it's on the field, that we afford our students, the work of our teachers and our coaches and families in getting behind our Blue Jays and our Eagles toward their talents and their many successes. We have a variety of partnerships, both in our backyard, like William Jewell College, and other higher education partnerships that also help with providing students experiences and opportunities, like our CNA program, in which students can begin to experience the world of medicine and what it will be like to work in that field, through programs like Northland CAPS, Network 53, just to name a few. And then lastly, the benefit of being located in the Kansas City metropolitan area, both from a community dynamic, but then also the many experiences that are afforded to our students and the resources available to us. We truly are blessed to live, to learn, and to work in Liberty Public Schools. I want to take a second to thank our Board of Education, reflected here. Ms. Angie Reed, our Board President, Karen Rogers, our Vice President, Mr. Nick Bartlow, A.J. Bird, Drew Marriott, Dan Currents, as well as Jen Bauer, along with others in the past who have served on our Board of Education. We would not be the community that we are today, or the school system that we have in service to our families, without support of our board members over the years. So we want to take a second to pause and thank this group for their service to our kiddos. Over the course of the last several weeks, we started talking about these two themes, both with our staff and our leadership team at our district leadership team retreat, but then also our convocation that was held just a couple of weeks ago before we started the school year. And I want to start with this, in that it represents two trains of thought. The theme of elevate and coherence was shared with our leadership team. And what are those areas that we need to elevate that matter the most, from the academics to the student side, as far as student needs, whatever that might look like, and everything in between. But then similarly, what are the things that we need to provide greater coherence or clarity around for families, for students, for community awareness? If you think about elevate and coherence, that really speaks to the systems thinking that goes on and the continuous improvement that occurs within our school district. Secondly, when we welcomed our staff back to convocation, I pulled these ideas forward in speaking to our staff in what was a great morning with our nearly 2,000 staff, and that is recalibrating us toward our calling. And that if you're in education, people oftentimes will refer to education as a calling and purpose in terms of the work that we do. Also, how can we ensure that we're utilizing our talents to the maximum that we possibly can for the sake of our kids and experiences across our district, taking advantage of opportunities that are afforded in the classroom and outside of the classroom. And then lastly, that focus on hope, both for our individual students and our staff, but then also our broader Liberty Public Schools community. With calling, talents, opportunities, and hope, that's really aspirational thinking and the things that we aspire to do. But it's not just for our staff, it's certainly for our kids as they find their place in our community, as they find their place in our world, toward their purpose, their passions, their calling, leveraging their talents, taking advantage of every opportunity that's afforded to them, but then also aiming for the hope that we all want for our communities, for ourselves, and our families. Information that's often of interest this time of year is our enrollment and what that looks like across our grade spans. And so reflected here is information as of September 9th, so it is pretty current. We officially submit our enrollment information to the State Department of Education a little bit later this month. But as it currently stands in grades pre-K through 12, we sit at 11,831 students. A couple of items that I want to make note of. If you look at the kindergarten enrollment, currently that is at 713 students as far as kiddos entering kindergarten this year for the first time, as compared to just around 680 kindergartners last year. So we have seen a little bit of an increase as it relates to kindergarten enrollment. National trends are indicating there's a decline in birth order and birth rates. As we think about families having fewer and fewer kiddos, we've seen that play out in our Liberty Public Schools over the last several years with smaller than usual kindergarten enrollments. You can walk your way through kindergarten through grade 12 and see where at about the middle level, 5th grade, 6th grade on up, you start seeing larger class sizes, pushing 900 plus students, all the way to that senior group this year, which includes both Liberty High School and Liberty North High School, a total of 1,113 students who will walk across the stage in May to receive their diplomas from both Liberty High School, Liberty North High School, and Liberty Academy as they move on from Liberty Public Schools. We continue to watch this over the course of the year, knowing that at the early childhood level, there will be some students and young people that actually age into those programs. So we typically start off around 200 pre-K students, and then by the end of the year, we end up closer to 280, 290 or so. So we'll continue to watch that over the course of the months that take us through the 25-26 school year. As a point of reference, this is my 12th year in Liberty Public Schools, and when I started 12 years ago, we were sitting right at about 11,800 students. We grew to as many as 12,800 or so, and we've really kind of sat in that spot of kind of migrating about 1,000 students between 11,800 to 12,800. So we've really plateaued, we feel, over the course of the last year, albeit some schools have seen increases in their enrollments, others have seen decreases that then kind of gives you the lay of the land for our entire school district. Other information that is always of interest to people is our district at a glance information and how we serve families and students and our campuses through a lot of our operations work, whether it's transportation and the miles that we cover, 85 square miles with 340 daily bus routes, just over 6,000 students that are transported daily, and over 1 million miles traveled each and every single year. The majority of our students reside in the city of Kansas City, around 50%, 56%, with 42% from Liberty. And you can see smaller portions of municipalities that do have a portion of their towns or cities within our Liberty Public Schools footprint. Interestingly, again, over a decade ago, those percentages were actually reversed, where the larger percentage was actually residing in Liberty, the city of Liberty, and the opposite number was residing in the city of Kansas City. So we have seen a little bit of a shift as you drive around and you see residences and neighborhoods coming online as far as new construction. A little bit of information about the quality and composition of our staff across our district. We have over 2,000 staff members, of which about half are certified or considered teachers, counselors, administrators. The other are classified, which then gets us into our support staff categories such as nutrition services, custodial, maintenance and grounds, paraprofessional. 84% of our teachers have a 6-year span of experience or more. In addition, 87% of our teachers hold a master's degree or higher, with our average salary just right at $68,900. Again, average across our teacher staff. A little bit about our student demographics. The breakdown of our demographics are 72% Caucasian, or in the white category, 10% Hispanic. Multiracial accounts for 8%. Our African American or Black population is at 6%, Asian 3%, and then other categories that round out that other of 1%. One of the statistics that I am most proud to share is that there are over 57 different languages represented in Liberty Public Schools, which speaks to the diversity that we actually have in terms of serving families from countries around the world. As it relates to serving those students, breakfast and lunch specifically, we serve over 1 million lunches annually, 6,700 or so lunches served daily, 2,700 free and reduced lunch students make up our student demographic and counts, and then our overall district free and reduced lunch percentage is 22%. It's important to note, though, that although that district number is slightly lower than some of our area districts or districts around the state, we do have buildings or schools across our district that far exceed that 22%. You generally have better reporting at the younger levels, and then as students enter into secondary, you start to see some of those families reporting free and reduced lunch status diminish a little bit. But we do have campuses that far exceed the 22% aggregate number that we have as a school system. To speak a little bit about graduation, those seniors generally, 95.3% of our students graduate successfully. We do have some that move on to other alternative programs to pursue credentialing or high school completion. In addition, 73% of our students attend a 2- or 4-year college, as well as students that continue to be served beyond the age of 18, as far as our special education students. Missouri statute allows those students to receive services from school districts to the time that they're 21 years of age. So we welcome the opportunity to continue to support those families and their kiddos towards success beyond high school. To speak a little bit about our financial condition and our budget, we're currently actually going through our annual audit this week and look forward to those findings and sharing that information with our Board of Education and our community in the coming weeks. Overall, we operate with a roughly $80 million budget that does include significant revenue that was calculated from our no tax rate increase bond issue slated back in 2023. Our operating budget sits at $195 million, and it's broken down from the various revenue streams. Local revenues account for just under 60% of our budget, along with 37% from the state, and a very small amount that actually comes to us from the federal level, just over 3%. But that comprises the revenue streams that we see in being able to provide students the opportunities that they need and support our district from a resource standpoint. Our average annual cost per student or per pupil expenditure sits at $14,858 annually per child. In addition, our at-a-glance information includes several of the real-world learning opportunities that we want to highlight or showcase. From early college opportunities provided to our high school students through Metropolitan Community College, where they not only complete their high school degree, but begin working and obtaining dual credit or college credit toward an associate's degree through MCC. We are always impressed by those students and the transition that they make as high school students while also becoming college students at MCC. Network 53, many of you are familiar with that program or have had your young people enrolled in that at the high school level as far as internship experiences afforded to our students, where we look to tailor and customize what our kids are interested in and partner them with a particular industry or sector that they seek to pursue beyond high school. It's a great opportunity for our students to learn the skills and dispositions contained in our graduate profile, while at the same time provides an opportunity for community partners to give back, to coach, to mentor, and to inspire young people in areas that they themselves are passionate about. Project Lead the Way, as well as arts integration through the Kansas-Missouri Kennedy Center Partnership in Education, continue to bolster our STEAM approach and engagement strategies across our grade levels. And so we appreciate our teachers for integrating Project Lead the Way in a variety of ways, whether it's launch at our elementaries and then specific courses offered at the middle level and at the high school level. The A in STEAM stands for that arts integration, and so we're thankful for a robust fine arts program and teachers that are willing to integrate the arts in projects and lessons and engagement opportunities for our young people. We're going to talk a little bit later about the Northland Career Center, but we also have the Excelsior Springs Career Center, in which students from both high schools as well as Liberty Academy are provided opportunities to take courses, receive credentials and certifications, really focused in on career technical experiences, CTE or vocational career technical career preparation subject matters that they can access at those two career centers. We appreciate the partnership that we have with them across the Northland. And then lastly, the profession of education. Just as many sectors are struggling with workforce development, we want to be intentional and in front of changes that happen as it relates to staffing, whether it's people retiring or whether it's supporting those young people that are pursuing the field of education. So we thank all of those in our district that are involved in supporting our young people through our Grow Your Own Teachers program. Also want to thank this group of individuals, which comprises our cabinet across Liberty Public Schools. They oversee every element of our district, from our schools to buildings to operations and everything between. Ms. Cindy Sullivan serves as our Chief Financial Officer. Mr. Steve Anderson serves as our Chief Operations Officer. Dr. Sarah Marriott is the Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources. Dr. Julie Moore is Assistant Superintendent of Innovation and Learning. And then Dr. Dixon Seahorn is our Assistant Superintendent of Student Equity and Access. As mentioned, all of our staff and those leaders fall underneath their purview, and so we appreciate them for their expertise, their problem solving, their commitment to young people and adults in our community, and would not be who we are as a school district without their support and help. A few years ago, it was about 7 years ago, we looked to rewrite our strategic plan through a different approach and going more toward an iterative strategic plan that was flexible, that we would review annually rather than keeping a 5-year comprehensive school improvement plan on a shelf that really wasn't revisited too often. And from that had a couple of things that developed. The first was our Vivid Vision, which focuses on the science of learning, the art of teaching, the heart of leadership, spirit of professional development for the adults in our organization, as well as our community. And it's a story that speaks to, if we set out to achieve and accomplish everything that we have in our strategic plan, here's what it will look like to live, to learn, and to work in Liberty Public Schools. And so each year we go back to the drawing board and we revise it ever so slightly. We tweak it, we celebrate our accomplishments, pull new pieces in that then informs our strategic plan. And so we're in the process of doing that this year and appreciate all of our leaders. But this was very heavily informed by our community as we solicited your impact and input through surveys, through feedback sessions, listening sessions, to be able to shape both our Vivid Vision as well as our graduate profile. My hope is that you are familiar with this from interacting at your school campuses. If you're not familiar with it, it is the skills and dispositions and knowledge that we want our students to obtain while they're in high school, while they're in middle school, while they're in elementary. So it really applies from pre-K all the way through grades 12 and hits on 5 key areas that you, our community, identified are important to you in creating great citizens, but then also applying these concepts and ideas to the world of work or pursuits in college. They focus in on 5 areas, that being academic, cultural, personal, professional, and entrepreneurial skills and dispositions. Each of those are defined on our graduate profile, but then additionally, there are subsets of skills that live within each of those categories. So for example, under academic, foundational to our work is the rigor that comes through critical thinking, analytical skills, curiosity, problem solving, as well as being goal oriented. And so those are the skills and dispositions that sit under academic, and you can see the remaining ones under cultural, personal, professional, and entrepreneurial. But we had to take that a step further. And that further step was to identify learner progressions, and that what do those skills and dispositions look like at each of our grade spans. So for early childhood, to first grade, to third grade, to seventh grade, all the way to that high school experience, here's how those skills and dispositions that then can be translated into learning progressions play out in our classroom. We appreciate this being incorporated into our grade levels, our content areas, as teachers and leaders have worked to make these connections. And what we believe this does in the end is it increases engagement. It becomes incredibly relevant because these are the same things that we see in our community through the world of work and through a variety of industries and sectors. So as students sharpen these skills and dispositions, once they get into high school, they may find themselves in an internship, they might find themselves in a job interview, or in completing a college application in which they can tell their story about how they've grown in those skills and dispositions, but then also accompanying their story are the artifacts, the lessons learned, the portfolios, the credentials, the certifications, perhaps the badges that come along with those experiences that set them up better than students they're competing against from other communities across the country. And so we appreciate all the work of our staff, and we love hearing from our students about these experiences and how they're able to grow in the knowledge, skills, and dispositions contained in our portrait of a graduate. Within that, then, is the work that occurs through our strategic plan. And similarly to the story told in our vivid vision, broken down into these elements of learning, teaching, leadership, personal growth, and community, we believe these are the areas that will get us to our desired pursuits. Whether it's creating a learner wallet or a digital wallet, portfolios, the integration of artificial intelligence responsibly, entrepreneurial experiences, incorporating flexible time for our secondary students to meet them where they are and provide them the needed support in their process of journeying through high school. Literacy and numeracy, as far as our focus on math and English language arts, along with other content areas, but really honing in on those areas that are foundational. Real-world learning experiences, as we've shared, incorporating professional learning communities and getting better at that work as staff and as schools gather together to grow one with another. Multi-tiered systems of support that meet students where they are. Focus on general wellness and well-being, both for our students as well as our teachers and our staff. Innovative program design, and always wanting to think about how we can do things better in being able to meet students where they are with relevant, meaningful learning experiences. Personal development, personal growth for our professional growth for our teachers through teacher externships, personalized professional learning, and then lastly, the category of community, as far as learning modules that provide that coherence for our staff, for our families and community around the work that we do as a school district, along with just that general sense of belonging that we desire for every single one of our families and the many walks of life in which they bring with them. I want to shift then to some work that we're doing across our state, and that is the work of the Success Ready Students Network. This work has been going on for some time in Liberty Public Schools, but then has been taken to scale both across our region, but then certainly now in conversations we've been having with the State Department of Education over the last several years. We began in Liberty and moving away from our singular report card that was provided to us by the State Board of Education into what we referred to as uncommon measures. Those uncommon measures certainly took into account what we were seeing from our State Department of Education, but then it went beyond that to incorporate both the academic along with the belonging and the well-being data that we see from our students and their experience, and then lastly incorporated real-world learning experiences. What we found was that was a much more robust assessment of how our students are navigating the pre-K-12 experience, but then also being able to gauge the academic measures, the belonging measures, along with the real-world learning metrics that were incorporated in our strategic plan and our action steps. From there, we partnered with several districts in pursuing an innovation waiver through the State Board of Education. We were the first innovation waiver, along with several other districts, that was awarded by the State Board of Education. And then we took a second group, and now are working on a third group of districts. Really setting out to do a couple things differently, to reimagine assessment and accountability practices in the state of Missouri, maintaining the standards that we currently have when it comes to curriculum standards, but then approaching it differently. If you may recall taking a standardized test when you were a student in school at the very end of the year, and then you matriculated onto the next grade, never to really see how you did, let alone do something about it, we're shifting through a through-year growth model that then takes you into account in where you enter that first month in August, and how teachers are able to grow your experience in academic knowledge and pursuits over the course of a year, with interim assessments scattered throughout. You may know this as iReady in our district. We believe that is much more valuable to gauge and measure a student's academic growth over the course of the year, as well as the impact that their teacher is having, as compared to a singular end-of-year, end-of-course test, whether it's the MAP or the EOC that students participate in at the high school level. So we're continuing with this work. I'm glad to share, if you've not seen it, that a dashboard sits on our district's website that you can access to learn more about the Success Ready Students Network. That includes this particular view of our interim assessment data, both for last year as well as this year. As we continue to walk through the year, we'll update this information, but it's a pretty easy to follow model that takes into account growth, academic readiness, but then also that combination of those two pieces and how that plays out for the individual student. Additionally, we include information about our district as shared, the graduate profile, the Vivid Vision, Success Ready Students Network, some real-world learning indicators. Would encourage you to take a look at our district dashboard, as that is revised and updated each and every year. We also want to pause and express appreciation to our broader community for the successful passage of our 2023 no tax rate increase bond issue. Many of you might recall hearing about the plans underway those several years ago, and the needs that we had across our district. But over the last several years, cannot express enough our appreciation to our operations team and several of our partners, Hollis and Miller and Newkirk Novak, that have made those initial sketches a reality as many of those projects begin to come online. I want to spend some time taking you through this work. This information is also available on our district website, and we report this information monthly to our Board of Education and share progress along the way. You might see some of these projects, and they are associated with our 2023 bond issue, albeit several of them were completed early on, while others are now just getting underway. Tennis courts at Liberty High School reflected in these graphics. We appreciate the patience with those teams and coaches and families, but we know that those are getting great use each and every season, whether it's the fall or whether it's the spring, as far as the tennis teams hosting matches and tournaments or just conducting their practices. At both Liberty High School and Liberty North, some field renovations as we transitioned to turf, as far as synthetic turf, and you can see the aerial views of those campuses, which turned out to be great. Our teams have benefited both from baseball, from softball, but then also utilization during the course of the day or even on weekends as others have come out to utilize those spaces. A larger project happening across the district that may or may not be visible, no pun intended, but that is LED projects as far as lighting upgrades, which you see some of those examples reflected. Those projects will continue as we cover off all of the campuses and buildings associated with the district that we have to make those improvements. It's important to note, while that's a significant project on the front end from a cost standpoint, we also will realize and are already starting to see energy savings as far as utility cost reductions, which was the intent of this particular project. Epic Elementary, you may recall, was our former central office in which we renovated about 12 years ago to host Epic. And they have gone all these years leveraging their cafeteria as both the cafeteria, as the gym, as the music room, as the art room, as their auditorium from time to time. And so we were excited to open last year the gym space, which also includes music space, classroom space for art. You can see restrooms there, but what a phenomenal space, an overdue space at Epic Elementary. You also have kind of sister projects at Discovery Middle School as well as South Valley Middle School, in which we incorporated a gym/auditorium, and it really is a phenomenal space, unlike anything that we've seen in other schools, that serves dual purposes, certainly facilitating PE classes and activities during the course of the day and after hours, but then is also a great space to be able to host musical performances, theatrical productions, and so we look forward to seeing the productions happening at both South Valley Middle School and Discovery Middle School. Those spaces are also online as of the start of the school year. Other projects across our system, as we shared information about nutrition services and some of the support areas, the meals served, the miles covered, and so forth, we run a big operation, and so we are excited to pull online this year Liberty Public Schools Distribution Center, as you see here. Several have toured that to look at those spaces. It incorporates not just logistics and distribution processes for our district, but it also incorporates food service storage as far as cold storage, where we've had to rent out space in the past. The caves, for example, there's cold storage located in the caves that we no longer need to rent out. Instead, we have that on site in service to all of our campuses and our nearly 12,000 students and the needs associated with distribution center. It's tucked along 291. If you take a look to the west side of 291 across from the Belvoir Winery, you may notice the distribution center. What a phenomenal space that we have to support our students. The District Technology Center has been up and running for some time as well. It was formerly Mid-Continent Public Library, the Liberty branch, which became available, and so we walked through that and found it to be a great spot to be able to renovate and to transition several of our programs, including Kids Zone, our Fine Arts program, that department, as well as our Technology department. And so they've transitioned and are taking advantage of that space. We've dubbed it Building 53. If you ever wonder what Building 53 is, those are the departments that are housed at that location. Heritage Middle School, one of our most historical campuses, has been undergoing construction for really the last several years, from our cafeteria to our academic wing, but we're currently taking on the main section as it relates to the older part of the building that dates back to the 1920s. There's a rich history at Heritage Middle School. Currently it is being gutted all the way down to the dirt work and the foundation, and then rebuilding it back up. And so we appreciate the patience of our students and our staff at Heritage Middle School and our families as we've had to move things around for a period as far as classrooms. But we look forward to those projects being completed later this fall semester in December, and likely being ready to go once we get back from winter break as students resume their classes and teachers find their new spaces in January of 2026. What a phenomenal project, and what a great opportunity to pour into one of our most historical sites in Liberty Public Schools. If you are a Liberty High School Blue Jay alum or current student, you were welcomed back to great improvements at Liberty High School as it relates to the entrance all the way through our commons area, the cafeteria, along with our kitchen space and service lines. We call it the scramble, that then gets you into our performing arts space toward the very back of that campus. What a tremendous improvement and upgrade for those staff and students at Liberty High School. Appreciate the work of our teams over the summer. As with any construction project, you watch it, you monitor it, and then you start to worry if it'll be done on time. But because of the help of Newkirk, Novak, and Hollis and Miller, as well as our own operations teams here in Liberty Public Schools, we were able to open those spaces for the start of the new school year as we welcomed back staff and students. Liberty Academy is located in the city of Liberty over by Liberty Community Center, adjacent to Liberty Middle School's campus. It has a couple of strip centers there, which were initially business storefronts, offices, in which we purchased a few years back and began the process of converting and remodeling them. We've had some renovations that were made over the course of the last several months to incorporate a do-it-yourself lab, kind of a shop type of a structure, if you'll envision that, along with some classroom spaces. And this has allowed the students served at Liberty Academy to spread out a little bit more, to be able to work more specifically with the tools that they need for various projects. We've also incorporated some outdoor spaces we'll share about here in just a little bit. And looking at some of our campuses and common projects, you have campuses like Alexander Donovan, Ridgeview Elementary, and Franklin Elementary that we've been working on doing several things, renovating their front office entrances to create secure entrances as far as that corridor structure, to be able to check people in, to verify their credentials as they visit our campuses and engage with students in classrooms. In addition to those safe and secure entrances, we've been working on remodeling some of our nurses' stations or health offices, along with restroom upgrades, restroom renovations. So we're excited to be able to showcase those spaces as families come back into our campuses and see the changes and the improvements to some of our older elementary schools as well. Some outdoor projects, as we talked about at Liberty Academy, the incorporation of a court space that is set up for basketball, pickleball, other things that students may want to do out there. It's great to see them out there throughout the course of the day in this great weather, taking advantage of those spaces. Additionally, several years ago, we began the process of taking on playground upgrades at a variety of our schools. You've seen some of those come online. And kids, as soon as they return from their summer to these spaces, their eyes light up, they're running around, checking everything out, and really enjoying these spaces, which is always very fulfilling. We still have a ways to go on other campuses that will continue to get improvements and upgrades, so be on the lookout for updates as it relates to these projects happening across our elementary schools and playground upgrades. At Liberty Middle School, the final projects that I wanted to share, neighbors that might live in and around Liberty Middle School or come to the Liberty Community Center have long seen the field over at Liberty Middle School that's gotten used over the years. The track that was painted on the old parking lot for kids and PE to take advantage of. But we felt it was time to remodel that space and renovate that space. So quite a bit of construction and dirt being moved at Liberty Middle School over these last several months. You can see the aerial view of what is proposed as well as kind of the pre-demolition view of what was there. But we think that'll be a phenomenal space, not just for Liberty Middle School students and their programs and classrooms, grade levels, but also for that adjoining community. Whether it's neighbors in and around LMS or whether it's people coming to the community center, we look forward to opening that space and putting it online as well. In addition to that space at Liberty Middle School, some improvements to a couple of classrooms tied to our special education department to continue to improve and renovate those spaces, as you can see shown here earlier in August. I want to shift ever so slightly. While it's not part of our construction bond issue from 2023, we also wanted to make mention of the Northland Workforce Development Center, which recently celebrated a groundbreaking. That has been a significant capital campaign, not part of Liberty Public Schools, but we benefit from it, in that it is through the Platte County School District that supports school districts across the Northland as a vocational center. And so they met many of their financial goals toward the $75 million project, of which we attended the groundbreaking the other day, and they're beginning to move dirt and begin the construction process. What this will do for Liberty Public Schools is it takes the prior Northland Career Center and brings it closer to 152 along Platte Purchase, if you're familiar with that intersection, to 152. So those resources, those opportunities will be closer to Liberty Public Schools for our students to take advantage of. We have for many years sent students to take advantage of those career programs while we pay tuition for those students to participate. They come out of those experiences with college credit, with credentials, with certifications, along with the students that we send to the Excelsior Springs Career Center. So we wanted to share that and celebrate with them, but we also look forward to the opportunities that will be afforded to our students through the Northland Workforce Development Center. I know that's a lot of information, but it only just kind of touches the tip of the iceberg, so to speak, in the work that we do across Liberty Public Schools. If you ever have any questions, please don't hesitate to visit our website to learn more about the work that we do. Follow us on our various social media platforms, or even more so, give us a shout, whether it's a phone call or an email. We'd be glad to talk with you. We'd be glad to find answers to your questions, solicit your ideas as well. The last thing that I want to share this morning is always encourage to make connections, whether it's in person, whether it's in community. On behalf of our 12,000 students and our nearly 2,000 employees, we thank you for all that you do to support Liberty Public Schools, and we look forward to future installations of our Coffee with the Community series over the course of this school year. With that, we'll turn it over to Dallas if there's any questions. I don't think there is on Facebook, as we've been monitoring that this morning. This will be archived for those of you that might want to catch it a little bit later. But again, thank you for making this a great start to the school year. We look forward to connecting with you along the way.